Just like the Prime Minister, the Minister claims the CPS couldn't prosecute because the last government didn't describe China as a threat. I cannot believe that he would actually say that. He knows what we said. He knows. Let me remind him, Madam Deputy Speaker. For starters, the 2021 Integrated Review described China as, listen carefully, the biggest state-based threat to the UK's economic security. The 2023 Integrated Review refresh said China posed, let's listen carefully, a threat several times. In 2024, the then Minister for Security said from that dispatch box that China poses...
Oh, buckle up, you beautiful lot, because what I'm about to unleash is more scandalous than tea without milk. More jaw-dropping than a Greggs sausage roll going for a $5, and just slightly less awkward than Keir Starmer at a karaoke night singing "I Will Survive" with all the gusto of a damp dish rag. Yes, indeed. Welcome to the most theatrical, eyebrow-raising parliamentary pantomime you never knew you needed, starring none other than the no-nonsense, truth-bomb-dropping, opposition-skewering force of nature, Kemi Badenoch. Before we show you the video footage, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us, so, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Mr. Speaker, can I associate myself with the Minister's remarks about Heaton Park Synagogue? And can I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for all the work that you've done on the security of members? No one has worked harder to protect the integrity of our Parliament. Mr. Speaker, the Security Minister, or Madam Deputy Speaker, I should say, the Security Minister is very well regarded. So I'm sorry to see him sent here again, making these arguments which will not wash. This is about the ineptitude of the government, and I cannot accept much of what he says. He's brought some updates to the House, which we acknowledge, but in essence, China spied on this Parliament, and they're issuing us with leaflets. This is not good enough. Mr. Speaker, there are members here today who have been spied on by China, who are sanctioned by China. Even the Deputy Speaker has been sanctioned. All MPs speaking today should be acting in the national interest, nothing else. Let's remind ourselves of what's happened. 2 men have been accused of spying on MPs in this very building. The CPS had what it felt was a clear and compelling case to prosecute. But the trial has collapsed because for months and months, the government has been refusing to give the CPS vital information. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This looks like a deliberate decision to collapse the case and curry favor with the regime in China. And instead of admitting this, the Security Minister has come here blaming the Official Secrets Act. But we know that the Act was enough to prosecute this case. Its deficiencies had nothing to do with the government's failures. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, may I remind the House how serious this is? If the government does not prosecute those who spy on us, it sends a message to the public that the government does not care about their safety. It sends a message to our allies who share intelligence with us that Britain cannot be trusted. And it sends a message to those who spy on us that they can get away with it. Let's look at the facts. First, the government blamed the CPS. The minister came to the House on the 15th of September. He claimed that he had only become aware of this decision that day, and that the CPS decision had been an entirely independent one. He repeats that assertion today. He said, "I am not able to talk about why the CPS has decided to make this decision." He said it was not for him to speculate on the reasons. He told the member for Rutland to seek a meeting if she wanted to find out the reasons. But we now know, despite all he has just said, that the trial collapsed because the government refused to give the CPS what it needed, and the minister knew full well why it had collapsed. Because the Director of Public Prosecution has said he spent months trying to get the government to provide the evidence it needed. Second, they tried blaming the previous government. Just like the Prime Minister, the Minister claims the CPS couldn't prosecute because the last government didn't describe China as a threat. I cannot believe that he would actually say that. He knows what we said. He knows. Let me remind him, Madam Deputy Speaker. For starters, the 2021 Integrated Review described China as, listen carefully, the biggest state-based threat to the UK's economic security. The 2023 Integrated Review refresh said China posed, let's listen carefully, a threat several times. In 2024, the then Minister for Security said from that dispatch box that China poses a serious threat. But even if the last government had not said China was a threat, and it did, the government only needed to convince a jury that it was a threat. And he knows that. I am astonished that the Minister has repeated this nonsense today. The Minister and the Prime Minister's argument on this has been refuted by no less than a former DPP, 2 former Cabinet Secretaries, 1 a former National Security Advisor, refuted by 2 former heads of MI6, and a professor of public law at the University of Cambridge who said today that Minister's statements so far are misleading about the legal position. They are all clear that these people could have been prosecuted under the old legislation. Is it the government's position that they are all wrong and they're right? Madam Deputy Speaker, the Minister references Crown versus Rousseff. That case last year he refers to in his statement made it easier to prosecute, not harder. And as the former Director of Public Prosecution says, recruiting people to spy on MPs of itself clearly constitutes a threat to national security. Only this government could mess that up. Madam Deputy Speaker, we know that the National Security Advisor, Jonathan Powell, has a very close relationship with China. Are we supposed to believe that he was not involved in the substance of the case and discussions around that, as they say? What does that even mean? He was in those meetings acting in the name of the Prime Minister. Do they really expect us to believe that he never mentioned to the Prime Minister any of this at any point? Madam Deputy Speaker, we know from the CPS that they spent months and months asking the government for evidence they needed. The government says it was not the NSA who took the decision not to give it to them. So who was it? Who made that decision? Can the Minister answer that today? Is it seriously the government's argument that no minister knew anything about this until the trial collapsed? If this is the case, it is astonishing. But my suspicion, Madam Deputy Speaker, is that it is not the case. My suspicion is that ministers did know. They have the Chinese super embassy in their in tray. They have £1 billion compensation they're allegedly being asked to pay for nationalising British steel. I suspect that they have decided that closer economic ties with China were more important than due process and our national security. And if this is the case, if that was the decision of this government, then they should just tell us that and have the backbone to admit it. They should explain it to the public, they should explain it to the CPS, they should explain it to our international allies and let them all be the judge. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is not going away. There is nowhere to hide. I wrote to the Prime Minister today and I'd like to know when I will get a response to my questions. And we have also written to the CPS to ask if this trial can be reopened if the government finally provides the evidence it's been holding back. We know that the evidence that the CPS needs exists. And if the government decides not to provide it, then we will know it is because this weak Prime Minister does not have the...
Now, let's set the scene, shall we? Picture this. The House of Commons buzzing like a wasp in a jam jar. The tension is thicker than Yorkshire pudding batter, and the seats are positively vibrating with anticipation. And just as you think the popcorn's about to cool down, boom! Kemi rises like a phoenix draped in parliamentary protocol. She begins to speak, and not just speak, mind you. She eviscerates, oh, but where's Keir? HM. That knight of the Labour realm, that silent sentinel of wherever he's gone off to. Spoiler alert, he's not even in the room. Missing in action during the most awkward interrogation since Prince Andrew on Newsnight. And Kemi, she's not here for pleasantries. No. She starts with a compliment, bless her, thanking the Speaker and nodding to the good work on synagogue security. So civilized, so composed. But then, boom again. She launches into it. No warning, no parachute, just straight into the belly of the bureaucratic beast. And what is the beast, dear viewers? China spying on Parliament. Not Netflix, not TikTok, no, on actual members of Parliament. It's like finding out someone's been reading your diary while pretending to water your houseplants. Now imagine this. 2 men accused of spying on MPs in the actual House of Commons. Not in a Bond film. Not in some John le Carre paperback. Here, with tea breaks and everything. But wait, the trial? Oh, it collapsed like a cymbal in a drum solo. And why? Because the government, you might want to sit down, refused to give the Crown Prosecution Service the evidence it needed. I mean, honestly, have you ever heard anything more suspicious than that? It's like a murder mystery where the detective decides, you know what, let's just skip the fingerprints. Bit of a faff, innit? But here's where it gets juicy. This wasn't a slip-up. No. According to Kemi, this looked deliberate, as in, whoops, we accidentally didn't prosecute some blokes who were allegedly spying for a hostile regime. Oh well, that type of deliberate. The CPS, bless their procedural socks, had a clear and compelling case, but without the evidence, it's like trying to bake a cake with no flour, no eggs, and a suspiciously disappearing oven. And so enswans the security minister, a man Kemi graciously describes as well-regarded, which in political speak is somewhere between bless his heart and he tries. He comes bearing excuses that even a GCSE drama student would call a bit much. He blames the Official Secrets Act, says the law just wasn't up to scratch. But Kemi is not having any of it. Oh no, because, you see, the act was good enough. It's been used before, successfully and recently. In fact, the legal community, you know, people who read laws, are lining up like it's Black Friday at Waterstones to say, yes, mate. You could have prosecuted under the old law. But the government, bless their selective memory, decides to shift the blame like a dodgy pass-the-parcel at a kid's birthday party. First, they say it's the CPS's fault. Then it's, well, the last government didn't say China was a threat. But Kemi, she brings receipts. The 2021 Integrated Review did describe China as the biggest state-based threat to the UK's economic security. The 2023 version doubled down. And in 2024, ministers literally said, and I quote, China poses a serious threat. So unless they've all been replaced by malfunctioning AI, that argument doesn't hold water. But wait, it gets better. The government's defense has been rubbished, not by some bloke at the pub, but by, wait for it, a former director of public prosecutions, 2 former cabinet secretaries, a former national security advisor, 2 ex-heads of MI6, and a law professor from Cambridge who basically looked at the government's excuse and said, yeah, no. That's nonsense. At this point, if the government still believes it's right, then I fear they've slipped into a parallel universe where logic is optional and national security is filed under meh. Kemi even points out a specific case, Crown versus Rusev, which actually made it easier to prosecute, not harder. So unless someone's been using an Etch-a-Sketch to write legal arguments, there's simply no excuse. And let's not forget Jonathan Powell. No, not the guy from your local gardening center, the actual national security advisor. Apparently, he has a rather cozy relationship with China. But according to the government, he wasn't involved, despite being in all the meetings, acting on behalf of the Prime Minister. And we're all supposed to believe he never mentioned this case to the PM? Not even in passing. Not even while waiting for the kettle to boil? Pull the other one, it's got Huawei tracking devices on it. Now, here's the part that makes you want to shout into your biscuit tin. The CPS begged, for months for the evidence, and yet someone in government said, no, we're good. But who? That's the million-pound question. Who actually made that decision? Who decided to let a case about espionage collapse like an old deck chair? Was it a civil servant? Was it a minister? Was it the Prime Minister himself? Or was it, and brace yourself for the most British scandal possible, a committee? We may never know, unless someone sneezes and leaks the minutes. But Kemi, she's not letting it go. She wants names. She wants accountability. And most importantly, she wants an explanation. Because right now, the only plausible explanation is that the government, and here comes the zinger, may have chosen closer economic ties with China over the safety of our democratic institutions. I mean, sure, we all love a cheeky Peking duck, but not at the expense of national security. And let's not forget the billion-pound compensation allegedly floating around for nationalizing British steel. Is that a coincidence?